Welcome back to another episode of Commanding the Market. I'm your host, Nathan Hale, and I'm joined once again by my co-host, Trent Richardson.
Hey, how's it going, Hale? It's been a wacky and wild week, man.
It has been
not only for Magic, but in my personal life. I'm not going to get into it, but let's just say no one wants to go through it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he gave me a preview of it before the show here, and just good luck to you on the rest of your week. It's got to be just, easy sailing from here, right? Today's hump day when we're recording this, so it's downhill now, right? Race to Friday, it's going to get better.
Hopefully so. I'll pull my legs up and sit on the skateboard.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a crazy week for me, work-wise, as well as I got my box, Double Masters box, and opened it just before this recording here, and boy, did I win big. But you'll have to watch to see just how well that went. I've seen worse, I'll be honest, but it definitely could have been better. You win some, you lose some.
Very sorry to hear that.
But we're not here to talk about what I pulled. If you want to watch that box opening, look for that. In fact, it'll probably be up before this is. Box openings are pretty quick and easy turnaround. But normally we like to start this show off talking about a previous card we may have hit or missed on. Usually we go for the hits and let you know how they're doing, but we decided we want to do one better. We're going to give you a couple episodes coming up here, the next episodes in fact. One which will be a hits, the ones where we have spec'd on and it has gone well, and we'll let you know what those are and where they're at now. And hopefully if you got in on some of those, you're with us on the winning side. But to be quite honest, we're also going to give you the misses. We're going to let you know where we missed the mark, which ones we went on, and they haven't done so well. And so look forward to those episodes coming up in the near future. But today, we're going to talk about a few cards, some uncommons, some rares, that are kind of midline specs at this point. I'm not super hot on any of them, but I think they're still decent and they need noted. They could see in the long run some definite growth. But in particular, we want to focus on what's crazy hot right now, and that is the 2017 Reserve List Buyouts 2.0.
Yep.
They are.
It's happening.
Yeah.
It's hot. But we'll get there.
Yes, we'll get there. But first, that's going to kind of fill the middle of this out. But first, we're going to talk about a couple specs, uncommonly good specs, you may say. And while I'm not entirely hot on these, I still think these are decent cards that you're going to want to have. If you don't already have, pick up a few. You're going to wish you had them later when you go to deck build a year, 2 years from now, and then you're like, oh, this is $1.50. Dang it. I could have had it for a quarter before. So look at those. And also, if you don't mind buying bulk uncommons as specs for long-term growth, where you're going to maybe in a year or two be able to sell it in bulk, you might want to look at some of these in that regard. You don't want to do individual sales on uncommons typically, especially new uncommons, because you're going to lose more in the shipping and the sales, unless you're going to do them as bulk sales, I should say.
Right.
So through buy lists, things like that. But regardless, I still think these two uncommons are worth noting. And they share a similarity, and that's with a new sub-theme called Gained 3 or More Life in a Turn.
That's a mouthful.
Yes, it's kind of like the Power 4 or Greater sub-theme that Green has going for it. Well, in this case, White and Black have the Gain 3 or More Life in a Turn. It triggers an ability. And we're going to be talking about one particular card, and that's the Silver Smoked Ghoul, which is currently only played in 119 decks. And this new card from M21 has a lot going for it. It's both a zombie and a vampire, which means it slots really easy into popular tribal commanders such as Edgar Markov, Varina Lich Queen. Edgar's the 4th ranked commander all time, might I point out. Varina's no slouch at number 57. I love my Varina deck. But it's also great in a very popular theme of life gain or aristocrats, such as in Oloro Aegis Aesthetic, who's the number 22 ranked commander. I also have an Oloro deck. Now, currently, this card is sitting at a market price of 41 cents. Now, that's up from its low of 25 cents just after its release a month ago. So it's already seen a sizable increase, about a 33% increase over the course of 1 month. Doesn't look like it's slowing much, but I mean, it's not a rapid gain either. We're talking about an uncommon here.
Sure.
But the fact that, and I haven't described it, it's in case you're not aware, this is a Silver Smoke Ghoul is a 2 colors and a black for a zombie vampire that's a 3/1. And at the beginning of your instep, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, return it from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. And you can pay 1 and a black and sacrifice Silver Smoke Ghoul to draw a card, which is doing a lot of things black really likes to do. It's putting things in the graveyard, it's drawing cards, it's sacrificing creatures. There's a lot of value packed right into this card. You know what it reminds me a little bit of?
No, what's that?
A green card. Yavimaya Druid or Elder, which is the 2 green and 1.
The Elder.
Yeah, you can pay 2 and sack it to draw a card, but when it dies, you fetch 2 basic lands to your hand, and there's a lot of value, a built-in sack engine. You know, another card, another deck I think could really get value from a card like this would be something like Marin. It usually doesn't have a life gain aspect, but the ability to recur it, or even just get in the yard, get the card draw, get a free experience point on Marin, that's not bad. And of course, you can always recur it to get more card draw.
Yeah, anytime there's a card that just allows you to, 1, recur it, and 2, recur it for value, I mean, that's pretty good. And it's unique. There's nothing really that's been printed like it, and that's something we look at when we're looking at specs for cards, and especially in the uncommon slots, because you really have to dig for that kind of stuff. Usually good speccable uncommons are real hot right out of the gate and stay there, so there's not much ability to spec on stuff like that. So you really have to look in the trenches for this kind of stuff. And what you want to look for is this kind of ability. I mean, pay 1 and a black, sack it, draw a card, and then it has a chance to recur it itself. Even if you can't recur it, like you said, Marin, I mean, anything that's going to bring it back for value and you can draw another card off of it, and plus an experience counter. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty good. That's kind of a no-brainer, Whether we're going to see it go, it's going to take a while. If it does, it's going to have to miss a lot of reprints for anything to really happen with it. But, I mean, it seems like a real good include in any kind of Marin deck for sure. Any kind of graveyard deck, really.
It reminds me now, I'm thinking about another card recently that's been a bit of a mover and shaker in, I believe I'm trying to remember the set. I believe it's from Throne. I'm sure I'm getting that wrong because I don't recall a vampire in Throne. But help me out here. It's a 1/1 black for a single black vampire. It might be vampire zombie, but I think it's just a vampire with death touch and lifelink.
I think that was from M20. And it was just a 1/1 for 1 death touch lifelink. That one,
it's going for like a buck and a quarter now.
Really?
Yeah, that was M20. I'll pull that up. I was looking at that. I was looking at some other cards, and that hit me, and I was like, wow, because this is an uncommon. I remember when I saw it, I thought, this is a good card. It's just a generically good card. I know for draft, it was one of the first cards I would snatch up, just because it was great for draft. But then I started thinking about it and looking at the value of it, and I was like, holy, when did that happen? When did this uncommon suddenly become like $1 plus card? Trying to find it to get the name here. I apologize for forgetting. I should have written it down, but it didn't occur to me at the time. Vampire of the Dire Moon.
Yep, that's the one.
From M20, yeah, that's sitting at, I apologize, it's sitting at $2.12.
Wow.
So the Vampire of the Dire Moon jumped in my head when I saw this card, the Ghoul. the Silver Smoke Ghoul, and I thought, this reminds me a little bit of another value zombie or vampire recently. And when I was looking through, I was like, what was it? And I found it. It was that one. And it was like just value stacked onto this uncommon black creature. And I was like, wow, this sucker's over $2 now. I couldn't even remember. I thought it was like $1, $1.25. But yeah, it's over $2 now. And that was from M20. So to give you an idea, if you think an uncommon creature has any possibilities of going up, but not because it's in a core set, just take a look at that one. Already it's over $2. That's core 20. That's still in standard.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't sleep on the Silver Smoke Ghoul. You're not gonna build your fortune off this card, but you might make a few bucks if you pick it up on the cheap. Now, sticking with this whole life gain thing, getting 3 life, well, Oloro will get you 2, but you need something else to get you that 3rd to get those 3 life or more in a turn triggers, right? So there's one card, speaking of M20, that is a must for any Oloro deck, and anything running Silver Smoke would probably appreciate this as well, and that's the Angel of Vitality. Tell us a little bit about that one, Trent.
Yeah, so currently it's in just over 2,100 decks. This card is a must for any life gain strategy. I mean, you gain 1 extra life every time you gain a life. And then on top of that, it's got another ability where it gets +2/+2 as long as you have 25 or more life.
So wait, this is a 3-drop?
For those of you who don't know, I'm sorry?
This is a 3-drop with flying. It starts as a 2/2.
Yeah. And so right there, and it's an angel. So this can slot into angel decks. It can slot into life gain decks. It's certainly the new gain 3 life in a turn theme. It's pretty great. There's other similar creatures with power 4 or greater theme, going on too, but this theme is, I think it's got some legs. And it gets turned on relatively easy with this card in play. And it's just a guarantee for the Orlo deck. I mean, if you're not running it in Orlo, I don't know. Oh
yeah. Yeah, I run in my Oloro and it is fantastic. It has literally been many a time the target, despite bigger, nastier creatures being on the board. It's oh god, we've got to get rid of that 4/4 flying angel that's gaining him all the extra life because it's causing all of these triggers to occur.
Yeah.
It is really good. And we're talking about a card that bears similarities to Serra Ascendant. It
not quite as good.
Not quite as good, definitely. But if you're running off those gain 3 life or more triggers to maybe get the Silver Smoke Ghoul to trigger, so you got the card draw and get your Aristocrat triggers, or maybe you want to get the trigger off of the other really nice M21 uncommon, Indulging Patrician, which that one's another flyer, a 1/4 for black, white, and the colorless, that whenever you've gained 3 or more life in a turn, at the end of your turn, each opponent loses 3 life and you gain 3 life.
Yeah. And you know what this card kind of reminds me?
Lose 3, but regardless...
this card kind of reminds me of another card that came out in M20 along with Angel Vitality, but it wasn't in the main set core 2020. It was in one of the Planeswalker decks, I think.
Yeah, Johnny Planeswalker deck?
The Twin Blade Paladin.
Yeah, that guy's ridiculous.
Yes, he's like $6-7 right now at an uncommon. I mean, it's got legs. Now, the Twin Blade Paladin can be $6.5, $7 because it saw much less printing than Angel of Vitality did. But Angel of Vitality is just a good card. In fact, I just recently, I play on MTG Arena quite often these days, and I just built a standard Angels deck and slipped her right in there. And not gonna lie, it's pretty sweet in that deck. So it's got me thinking about a Mardu Angels Commander deck.
If only there was a Mardu Angel Commander.
If only. So yeah, and it's, I really like this card. I liked it when it came out. I love drafting it. It was great in the draft format.
Well, I mean, a Winged Drake with lots of upside.
Yeah, I mean, It's quite ridiculous. And if you can get that +2/+2 to make it a 4/4 for 3, I mean, oh my gosh, it's just so hard to deal with. So
and you know, this card, since it came out, since M21 was spoiled, let me say, this card's seen a slow and steady double up in price to 52 cents. So we're talking, what is that, 1 month? Just over a month, this card's had a double up.
Mm-hmm. And let's not mention the fact that we're playing Commander here, so it is a 4/4 for 3.
Yeah.
Flyer. You know, I mean...
Tons of value.
In your battle cruiser decks, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah.
Especially for white. Yeah.
So let's move on now. Let's call in the reserves.
Are we ready to call in the reserves? Okay.
Yeah, I wanna get through the reserve list, and we're gonna talk about a couple cards after that. I know it's gonna be a little weird, but I kind of want to go that route because of Ferris Bueller. Really, we'll get there.
Bueller.
But the majority of this, we're going to be talking about reserve list here. We're just going to touch on the other ones at the end kind of briefly.
Yeah.
So first off, the reserve list, as we said earlier, it is heating up. Mm-hmm. You know, there a lot of people are talking about it on the interwebs, and maybe this is a knee-jerk reaction to seeing all the reprints this year between Mystery Boosters and M21, Jumpstart, Double Masters, and everyone's going, wow, what won't they reprint? This is crazy. Where are the values going? They're reprinting everything, and it's just a reminder that there are some cards out there still that they technically, legally can't reprint. Mm-hmm. So I think it's drawing attention back to these cards. So people are looking to park money there again, and it's basically creating that boom once again.
So I think it's probably more because of the announcement of the set packs that are going to be coming out with Zendikar. As they're going to be putting random reprints from throughout Magic history. The set packs are interesting. In that I'm actually kind of, I know a lot of people are a little annoyed with them. So far I'm not upset per se about them, in that I like the idea that they're kind of building packs that, so far from what they said, that are putting less of the draft chafe in them, because let's face it, how many more freaking plummets do I really need? You know, so pulling those cards out and then putting in more interesting cards, I appreciate, but that does bring up the question of really drawing eyes to what won't they reprint? Like, is there anything sacred still? And outside of reserve lists, I don't know that there is, unless you want to pick some of the most. Actually, if it's offensive or has art by Tyrese Nielsen or Noah Bradley, you know, but they'll still reprint the card, just not with that art. Like your options are getting limited for what won't get reprinted at this point. And I think that's driving a lot of people towards reserve lists. So the first one I think we should talk about is one that, you know, I had mentioned to you that I actually picked up the other day for the low price of $1. Now, that is below the current market price for it, and I knew that when I got it, but that's why I got it. So
tell them what it is and what it does.
Well, it's Bausium Strip. So Bausium Strip is an artifact from Weatherlight, 3-drop, and I think you pay 5 colorless.
Three colorless and tap.
3 colorless and tap it until end of turn. If any time the top card of your graveyard is an instant or sorcery card, you may play the card as though it were in your hand. If you do, remove it from the game. So basically, it gives any card flashback from your graveyard, which in Commander is a pretty sweet and nifty little trick to have. You know,
can you imagine this thing in like a spell slinger storm deck?
Yeah, it's sick.
Because you're just casting all these spells, they're going on top. And then you're just recasting them. As you cast the top one, the one below it you cast, the one below it you cast. I remember a game not too long ago we were playing where we were doing a plane chase, and they had I don't remember which plane we were on, but essentially they got to twice cast their mana geyser, and they ended up with like 38 mana or something like that.
Yeah.
which was ridiculous. And they
Or
had
how
a
about the
memory
other
jar
guy?
out.
Or how about the other guy who got to double cast Living End? You know?
You're making fun of me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I feel this card. I'm amazed it's not played more. It's played in only about 100 decks. I think that's mainly because people don't know this card.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Kalamax the Stormsire, it'd be great in that. Melik, is it Paragon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anything with like double cast spells or the new enchantment that doubles your instants and sorceries, or
even counter spells.
Yeah. Like
this thing, it's just if it's the top card in there, whatever instant or sorcery, you just pay 3. I don't care if it's my turn; it could be your turn. I just pay 3, tap it till end of turn. I can play top of my graveyard sorceries and instants.
Yeah. And double it with targeted graveyard removal.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like remove some of your own. Like if there's something on top, just go, okay, I'm going to get rid of that card. Maybe it's a Mistveiled Plains or something where you can tuck a card underneath the bottom of your library, or maybe you're just playing targeted removal with a spot removal card like that Soul Lantern, I think, or a few others.
Yeah, that seems super fun, and that's why I bought it, was because it looked like a fun card to kind of sort of build around, or at least give the deck an identity. Plus, the art's just super awesome. I'm a big math fan, so anything that has any kind of math symbols in it,
and it's very Escher, very MC Escher-esque.
Yeah. So let's talk about the pricing.
Yeah.
So the current mid is $2.67 with a market price of $3.06. It's come up about 70 cents in the past 3 months. There's not that many copies and lightly played to near mint available on TCG. And of course, a lot of these cards there's not going to be. But there's even less than normal of this one in particular.
Yeah.
And with not many left on TCG market, this card seems poised for an easy buyout, especially considering current price with lightly played bulk copies available for as low as $1.75.
I'm sorry, I have to retract that statement. So I hope, and we're going to go into this in a little more detail about what I'm going to talk about here, but I hope by the time you see this, which will be 4 to 5 days from when we record this, because of the editing time, I hope it hasn't gone the way of the ancestral knowledge, which we'll be going into. Because I today decided when I was posting this, because I wrote this a couple days ago to prepare for the show, and then I went to buy my copies for the low price of $2.35. I had 3 copies in near mint for $2 that I could get, but between when I put them in my cart and when I went to check out a couple hours later, they were gone. Somebody else had already grabbed them.
Wow.
So I am hoping for your sake that they're still affordable copies by the time it gets to you. So when we say they're poised for buyout, we mean they're poised for buyout. Which leads me to the next one we're going to talk about. And I'm going to talk about this one. This is
So I'm going to take full responsibility on this one. This is totally my fault. I put the trump card down for that episode when we talked about Cadaverous Bloom instead of this card. What can I say? My bad.
And this is going into kind of what I'll be talking about here in a moment. In that when you said that, I didn't give any fuss about it because even I didn't realize how volatile and how fast the reserve list market and the new boom was coming. This was 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So the card we're referring to, you've heard probably on other channels if you're into investing, and that's Ancestral Knowledge. So 3 weeks ago, I had knowledge that this was a good spec. I looked at the number that were available. I looked at its viability. It's only played in 340 decks in EDH. However, it's played in some of the top-ranked decks such as Yuriko, the number 5th ranked, Aminatou, number 30 ranked, got Eternal Kefnet, so on. A very good card, but all that aside, there just weren't that many copies lightly played or near mint on the market. And I decided I was going to and this will be another tangent. We'll be talking about this in reserve list for a little bit. What I would have told you, actually, here, let me back up. Okay. So I think the main reason this card hasn't seen more play in more decks is largely due to a lack of knowledge of this ancestral card from Magic's history. So in April of this year, it hit its lowest price in the post-2017-2018 reserve list buyouts, dropping to $2.40. Now this is one I was going to bring a couple weeks ago, as I said. And now what I would have told you then was it is now at $4 and showing no signs of slowing. Lightly played copies on TCG can be picked up for as low as $2.70. But quantities are getting low, particularly on the lightly played near mint copies of this 20-plus year old Weatherlight card. Here's the update. In the 2 weeks since I'd spec'd on this, so now almost 3 weeks since I wrote this card has seen a jump from $4 to an all-time high of $32.88, and has since dropped to $21.47 mid and a market of $9.70. However, it's up a little bit from there recently, but not much.
Yeah, as of today, I think the cheapest one you can get on TCG is $14.50.
Yeah. So this is going to bring me to gripe number 2. And I'm going to avoid politics. I'm going to avoid going the political side of this. Draw from it however you want. But it has to do with the post office. And again, I'm not directly blaming the postal workers. They're going through a lot. They're essential workers now more than ever. And they're having difficulties due to upper administration problems leaning on them within the post office, causing difficulties there. I had ordered, when I spec'd on this weeks ago, Ancestral Knowledge, and I picked up for right around $3 near mint copies. I got them in bulk and ordered them along with Cadaverous Blooms. I ordered a few of those too. Well, they've been lost by the mail. And TCG won't replace. They don't have copies to replace it with, so they're giving me a refund. And I'm like, well, a refund, this card jumped 1,100%. They're like, you can just buy more. And I'm like, no, I can't. What I paid for those won't get me 2 of these. Might not even give me 1 if I want near mint. So there's a little concern right now if you're ordering cards and like online that you may not receive them. It's happened also my Cadaverous Bloom, and it's not the fault of the sellers. I know because I have informed delivery with the post office, so I actually got images of the envelopes from the sellers. So I know they mailed them, so it's not their fault. But that is a newfound risk. So if you're buying online, this reinforces your idea of buy local of the singles when you can. Be aware that is right now more than ever a bit more risky than ever before. And if you're a seller, I implore you to consider, if you're selling your cards on TCG, eBay, and other markets, pay for the insurance for the card. Roll that price in if you have to. It's going to cause some inflation in the market on singles. Mm-hmm. But for the love of God, right now, cover yourself, especially if those cards are worth any money. Mm-hmm. You don't want to be out when the customer comes back and says, I didn't get it, because I'm getting refunded for those. Granted, I'm getting refunded on the cost I paid for them, not the cost they were worth, which is now inflated and quite different. But cover yourself, because you don't want to be stuck with those charges. Just a little piece of advice to you. Normally, I'd say it's not as big a deal, but you may need to roll that into your shipping costs or into the cost of the card, however you want to do that. If it's a card of any value that you would be upset about losing in any way.
Yeah. Well, when you have the opportunity to list them on TCG the day after you should have received them in the mail for 1,100% of the value. I think that upset me a little bit too. Just that much.
Yeah.
You know?
It sucks when you miss a spec. It really sucks when you hit a spec and something else causes you to miss it. And that was one of those cases.
So I actually that same night put some in my cart on TCG as well. And I got up to go get my wallet and purchase my cart. And then I got busy. I've got a new baby, so I got a little busy and sidetracked and doing some other things. And then when I came back, to finally purchase it, there wasn't. They had removed them from my cart and they weren't available. So I was like, whatever. And then I think like a week goes by and I'm just like, whatever. I haven't thought about it. A week goes by and you text me and you're like, hey, did you see Ancestral Knowledge, that card that you told me not to talk about on the channel that one day instead of Cadaverous Bloom? Yeah, it's gone nuts. And so my response to you though was, it's just a buyout.
It is a buyout.
And it is just a buyout.
Yeah.
So it's not $32 anymore. It was for like a few hours, but it's never going to see that bottom of $2.70 again.
No.
But I think we'll see here in a week or two, once people start realizing, hey, we've got this buried in a box back here somewhere, because that's where they are. They're just thrown in 5,000 count boxes, once people realize, oh my God, that card spiked crazily, they're going to list them on TCG. The market's going to, get back to normal again. But it'll never be there again. It'll probably be about $5.
Yeah.
Even at $5, this card is fantastic.
Yeah, as to play with, and even as a spec, because again, guess where this won't show up in any master set.
Nope,
ever.
It'll never be reprinted. It's reserved. So even at a $5 reserved list rare, it is a rare,
playable rare
from Weatherlight. I mean,
I'm still kicking myself for not getting. So about 6 months ago, I was going to spec into Peacekeeper. And about a year ago, I was going to spec in a City and Bottle. And both of them, I didn't. I don't know why. I just probably decided to park my money into new cards instead for decks. But I was like, I think both of these are good. And recently, Peacekeeper in the last few months has really gone up out of reach because it was a cheap card, relatively speaking, and very playable. And City in a Bottle, I always felt was a really good for combo decks. Anybody playing a combo deck just says, no one's doing anything on my turn. I'm playing City of Solitude, sorry. And it just says, okay, nobody can do anything on my turn. Now, if you're in white, you can play the white creature that does the same thing, essentially, and just for you, which is the better choice. But if you're not in white and you're in green, this is certainly a great card to go with. And again, it's reserve list. That's some really cool art, too. Mm-hmm. Those I missed on, and at the prices are at now, I don't want to pick up. Although, we'll talk about that with the hits. We'll go on that later. But but the whole idea on going over Ancestral Recall or Ancestral Knowledge was to let you guys know that right now with the reserve list craziness, you have to be ready. You gotta know what you're getting. I don't want you to fall into FOMO, but when the price is low and you suspect it's gonna hit, the hammer's gonna drop, you need to be fast. So I'm gonna start this next section here with a quote from Ferris Bueller. Lightning is pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it. And in this case, look around and see what's getting ready to shoot up. Because if you don't grab it while it's there, it's going to be gone and out of your reach. And reserve list cards can quickly get out of reach in a rather permanent fashion if you're not careful. So with that in mind, I would like to talk about a couple rares that are worth a pickup and can help you with your instant speed interactions.
So I guess we'll get into this stuff here, and let me just say this before we do that. Guys, I'm so sorry. It was all my fault. But seriously, it's good that things like this happen. That way we can, this is what this channel is for, so we all learn these lessons together,
I will say.
When something's hot, if you feel like, even if it's not hot, if you feel the need to do it, then do it, and do it now. There's no time to wait in this game.
Yeah, and you don't want a life of regrets.
Yeah.
You don't have to go overboard and buy, like, I'm going to buy every copy there is, but you might pick up a couple of them, one or two, and go, okay, I've got it, while it was cheap. Yeah. And if it's reserve lists, you're really not doing bad unless it's Homelands or Fallen Empires. But hell, even Homelands had Didgeridoo and Merchant Scroll, but that's not reserve list, or that would be a very expensive card.
Yeah, true. So I digress. We'll move into some of the non-reserve list cards we got here. We got some regular, more recent rares we're going to talk about here, so you guys can maybe not miss out on those. I have not chopped any of the list today. So, and I'm probably done with all that in the future. If we got stuff to talk about, we're just going to talk about it.
And they had an out. I did say, I think in that episode, that I had some other spicy picks. If they wanted to know, they could comment and ask me, and I would direct message.
True.
Nobody took me up on it. If you get that again, you might want to take me up on it, but I think this time, if there's anything, especially reserve list, we're not going to hold back. Even if it's a little long, we're going to talk about that and go, hey, we think this is...
My thinking at the time was, it was early in us talking about the reserve list thing, and, it's not something that we wanted to get into originally on the show. We were kind of dipping our toes into it to see how it was going to go, how it's going to be received. And so I came up with the idea, we had 3 that day that we wanted to talk about. Let's just do one. That way we can have one for for the next 3 weeks. We
did not think we knew it was a volatile. We didn't think it was going to be that volatile.
Yeah. And that goes back to our original comment about the reserve list. It's volatile.
Yeah.
Just that volatile. It went from $2 to $38 down to $9 in like 18 hours. So anyway, I digress.
But
Vivian,
remember that instant speed reaction. Tell us about this first one.
Vivian, Champion of the Wilds from War of the Spark. Now, War of the Spark's getting ready to rotate, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah.
So that's gonna change the game a little bit on this card. Currently, it's in 9,000 decks, 4% of eligible green decks it could be played in. Currently at $2 for a rare Planeswalker with a static ability, mind you. Card Kingdom selling it for $2.79. So that's about like a 20% difference there. A strong indicator that they see the value for EDH. Okay, so that, we've talked about that on the channel before. If you see a difference between Card Kingdom and TCG player, it's because Card Kingdom is a little bit forward thinking there.
They tend to cater more to the casuals and EDH than a lot of the other companies, so their pricing reflects that. Sometimes I've seen staples or semi-staples for other formats are low at Card Kingdom, and vice versa. You might go to Channel Fireball and find a EDH staple cheaper than you will at Card Kingdom because Card Kingdom knows the value of it to the casuals.
Yeah. So this card is similar to a card we're going to talk about next, and also similar to Vidalcan Orrery, which is in 16,000 decks and commands a price of $37. Now, Vidalcan Orrery is an artifact and can be played in 100% of decks. So 16,000 decks, is still pretty good even for that. Vivian lets you flash in creature spells only. So it is a little less good maybe than Vidalcan Orrery, but it still serves its purpose.
And it does
far less mana. Yeah. I mean, it's only 3 mana versus Vidalcan Orrery's 5?
4.
Yeah, so far less mana. Also, she gives a form of a card draw in creature heavy decks. So all those battle cruiser decks out there, those mid range decks that you got, a creature flash helps protect Vivian while giving creature ETBs as instant speed interaction. So,
I use this personally I use every copy I have. I have 5 of these. And I use them all in decks. It's still not enough. But where I love this card the most is my Chulane deck, because I don't bother. And then I just, whenever something's happening, I just drop in all these creatures instant speed before my turn. I draw into answers, and then I use reserve backup mana to save my commander or whatever I have to. And I'm protected from board wipes most of the time because I don't play them on my turn. I play them on everybody else's turn.
Yeah, and Tulane, as you know, a lot of people like to run the flicker effect Tulane style decks. And Vivian's great for that. I mean, you get to just like, just flicker and all your stuff out of play, and you can protect your creatures from anything. So War of the Spark's about to rotate, and when sets rotate, they go out of print. So they're going to quit printing War of the Spark altogether. And I mean, as we've already seen with Dominaria prices have like sealed boxes have shot up, single cards have shot up. I think we're going to see the same thing with War of the Spark, because War of the Spark was one of the craziest, best, innovative sets that Magic has seen since probably like
Time Spiral or something. I mean,
Time Spiral. Innistrad, maybe. I mean, Innistrad was just super powerful. It wasn't very innovative, but like Time Spiral was super innovative. And I don't think we've seen anything.
Well,
since
I might say since Lorwyn, actually, because Lorwyn introduced Planeswalkers, which was pretty innovative. But I mean, they put static abilities on Planeswalkers, printed them in rarities besides Mythic. It kind of changed the game and made Planeswalkers far more common, whether you hate them for that or love them for that. It certainly made Planeswalkers much more accessible to everybody, which was crazy. It's cool. It's just, it turned it into, in some ways, something less special, but also a more of a staple in the game, I think, than it used to be.
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, even on bulk copies, $170 right now on TCG low. I mean, that's still a good pickup. So good. I mean, whether it goes up in value or not, that's a solid card to add in any of your green EDH decks that have creatures you want to play at instant speed. I mean, like.
So what I love about and so you guys have probably heard of a show called Game Nights and the Command Zone. A little shout out to them right now. And Vidalcan Ori, which Josh Lee Kwai touts all the time. For good reason. Being able to play things at instant speed means you can hold up your mana for interaction and still get your playables in play. It's like combat tricking with your entire deck. Yeah. It is so good. And when you're playing with creatures that have, say, ETBs, what's better than having creatures with ETBs? Creatures with ETBs play to instant speed. So you've got something that, you've got a... Reclamation Sage.
Chupacabra.
Chupacabra, whatever. And you've got to respond to their infinite combo going off and destroy, get rid of one of their pieces. Okay, I'll flash in this Reclamation Stage. I'll blow up your artifact, whatever, enchantment, stop you from going off here. Where you don't want to have to lose that body by putting in instant speed, unless it's maybe Corrosive Grip, because that's just phenomenal. Split second's great. You get the best of both worlds. And when you're able to put in something like Vivian of the Wilds, that not only gives you that flash capability for all your creatures, basically you're missing on your artifacts, enchantments, and sorceries having that instant speed. Because instants are still going to have it. Creatures are going to be the bulk of your deck anyway, especially with ETBs pulling the weight. Now you have your ETBs coming in instant speed. Plus you have the upside of being able to potentially get card draw off of Vivian. Just all upside here, and for 3 mana, and at that price, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah, it's a good card, and it's definitely going to go up. I mean, I don't see them printing static ability Planeswalkers for a while.
Well, they're doing some, but they're doing them now just like in core sets, and then whoever's theme it is gets some.
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know how often they're going to reprint some of these rare Planeswalkers. Like, I don't see that getting reprinted very easily unless they put it into a commander deck. It's missed the opportunity to be in a challenger deck. I don't think it ever saw enough standard play to be in one.
No.
But I do feel for commander, this card is currently underplayed But even in 9,000 decks, it's seeing play, and it's just so good.
Yeah.
The next card, because again, we're still on this thing of life moving pretty fast, and you don't want to miss it, so let's keep it the instant speed. We teased it a moment ago, and that's Leyline of Anticipation, the other Vidalcan Ori. This one's blue. Now, this card's played in over 21,000 decks. That's 10% of decks that can play it. In the past 3 months, this card has jumped $1.30 to $6.40, and it's still climbing. The Card Kingdom asking $8 for copies of this card. That's a good indicator.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I bought in this card when it hadn't been reprinted in Core 20, and I think I got a deal on mine. I got it for $17. I think that's the M14 or M15, the original version.
Yeah.
So this card got reprint like Leyline of the Void because they were going up in value. The other Leylines that got reprinted, nobody much cared about. Singularity slightly. So this card from Core 20, I just see it continuing to move up. I imagine it's going to hit around the 8 or 9 mark, probably within the next year at the most.
Yeah.
And right now, the problem is, the downside is right now you can only really get this card in bulk for around, you can't really find them much under $6 in bulk. Because the card is it's a staple. It gets played. People want it. But a savvy shopper can pick up single copies here and there for as low as $5. And at that price right now, I feel it's definitely worth it. And even at $6, I don't think it's at all a bad pickup.
Yeah, to have the ability to potentially start the game with this in play, I mean, it's just so awesome.
And nobody wants to the thing that's always amazing, nobody wants to remove the instant speed or the instant speed giver, if you will. Nobody wants to get rid of the Vidalcan Ori, the Leyline of Anticipation, because they feel like it's not a threat. They know it's just value. The problem is that value is very threatening, but they don't realize it. They don't realize it, and that's the beauty of these cards. And in the roundabout way, if they get rid of that, they're not getting rid. Like if they get rid of in my Chulane, if they get rid of my I actually run both Leyline and Vivian in my Chulane. Seems like crazy to do redundancies, but my Commander Chulane's actually redundancy in my deck. I don't need him to go off in the exact same fashion. I run Karametra and Alurin and other cards that allow me to basically just duplicate his abilities. Guardian Project. There's another card a while ago I spec'd in and it's paid off. So basically my commander's a red herring. Like if he stays in play, cool. That's awesome. But if he's gone, doesn't matter. I've got it built with 3 other different cards in play that I have redundancies for, and it just pops off.
Yeah. I mean, so a little story about Leyline here. When we were drafting in Core 20, I think there was 2 weeks in a row. The first week, I opened my Pack 1, Pick 1, Leyline of Anticipation, and I think this was the very first week of draft. And I was like, "This is I can't use this in the draft." I'm not a rare grabber typically. However, I go on to Pack 2, Pick 1, another Leyline of Anticipation, and I passed it again. The following week, Pack 2, Pick 1, Leyline of Anticipation. Pack 3, Pick 1, Leyline of Anticipation. Wow. Opened 4 in a total of 6 packs.
6 packs.
In 2 weeks in draft. And I passed every single one of them. I kind of wish I was more of a rare grabber at this point because I don't have
at least Pack 3, man. I mean, Pack 3, Pick 1. I don't know. Maybe you were looking for removal at that point.
Pack 3 is an important pack, man.
Yeah, I mean, it's Pack 1. Like, Pack 2 is a tough one to throw away. Like, Pack 3 or Pack 1, usually by the time I get in Pack 3, I'm like, I usually have a good idea where my deck is, and I can afford a rare draft in Pack 3 typically. Yeah. Or a hate draft. Actually, I'm that player. I more often hate draft in Pack 3 at the beginning.
Sure.
Unless there's something that's just bombed from my deck. But regardless, we're going on unlimited. That's not what we're talking about here. But
So
There's
the next
one more I
card
want
we
you to
got
talk
here.
about for me here. This is a great card.
Now this card is just right up the alley with both of these we've been talking about. What better card is there to flash in with a Vivian than Shalai, Voice of Plenty?
You know, this card is half of a corn dog lock.
It is half of a corn dog lock.
The other half being Avacyn, Angel of Hope.
Yeah, see previous episode.
See previous episode for more.
So as I mentioned before, we've seen a rise in the price of sealed Dominaria product. We've seen a rise in the price of singles from Dominaria. And Shalai has been one of my favorite cards from Dominaria time and time and time again. I'm constantly building with her. I'm constantly putting her into decks that she can slot into because for 4 mana, for a 3/4 flyer, she gives you, your planeswalkers, and all of your other creatures hexproof.
Yeah.
And she gives everything +1/+1 counters for 4 and 2 green, which is a little steep, but not steep on a stick. I mean,
I think that ability, if anything, is more of a drawback than anything. And the only reason I say this is because it means she's a 2-color card in EDH, not a 1-color. So she's not as slottable. But I can't tell you, like, I love Tooth and Nail for Shalai and Avacyn, and then sliding the Greaves onto Shalai and just going, have a nice day, table.
Corn dog.
If you don't have Cyclonic Rift, I probably won this. Yeah. You know, there's a couple other. Hallowed Burial, one of my favorite removal spells, actually. Way underplayed.
Yeah. So,
but anyway,
14,000 decks. She's currently $5 on TCG for near mint copies. I mean, if she can avoid a reprint in just the next year, I think we could see a ceiling of about $10 on Shalai, because I was actually kind of shocked that she's in 14,000 decks.
I'll be honest, I was a little bit too. I'm surprised just because I see so many good cards get missed, to be quite honest, and overlooked. But I'm happy to see that she's playing 14,000 decks, because that means people are recognizing the absolute insane value of not just your creatures and not just your planeswalkers, but you. This is Leyline of Singularity and a lot more for the same CMC.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, Shalai, really any good cards in Dominaria, I'm really high on right now. So you guys out there, if you're looking at buying or getting into a card from Dominaria, now's the time to do it, because the train is leaving the station.
Train's kind of left the station. You might be able to catch up, though.
You might be able to.
There's a couple other cards, if you're looking. If you don't have them, you should get them, because they're just going to keep going up. And that's Muldrotha. And the other is the not Helm of Obedience. Helm. Wait, is it Obedience over Possession? I confuse it always with the one from Alliances. The Helm of really goodness.
I think it's Obedience.
I think it's I don't remember.
No, it's not Helm of Obedience.
We're looking for the Helm. Comment below if you figure it out. Helm of the Host. That's right. So we have there's Obedience, and then there's Possession too, which are two totally different Helms. They're two totally different things. But anyway, Helm of the Host. Very good card as well. That and Muldrotha are definitely ones I would also consider from Dominaria. But who knows?
And while we're here,
Commander Legends.
While we're talking about Helm of the Host, I'll just give you guys a quick little snapshot on that. $9.21 on TCG market price, $11.99 on Card Market or Card Kingdom.
Wow! Last I looked at that card, it was $6. When did it go up? What are you looking at on that one? So we're doing a little bit of live here.
Yeah, a little bit of live. Never heard anybody.
I'm gonna check that out here. So it looks like it had its jump. Yeah. It was right at the turn of the year. So beginning of this year, it was $6. and since in the last 8 months, it's gone up almost $4.
Yeah. It was, let's see, April 2nd, it was 6. Today we're at 9, almost 10. So right before Ikoria, it was as low as it's been since before Theros. Yeah. But this card is on a trend up and has been. We've only seen the one real dip right before Ikoria. But, and it's trending up. I mean, this is definitely a good card to spec into. This is one that is probably going to be reprinted in Commander sets, but I don't foresee this one being reprinted in any core set or any major set for the foreseeable future.
And the fact that it can clone legendary creatures and makes the clones not legendary makes for some broken combos, like with Godo, for example.
Yeah.
That in Godo is like a one card, or basically if he's your commander, it's a one card combo. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
This card is very busted. But anyway, check into Dominaria and a couple of those we mentioned. If you don't have those, I recommend getting them because right now it looks like on some of those that we mentioned, sky's the limit. They're not going to get cheaper, barring a reprint in something like Commander Legends. But even then, I don't think it'll do a lot. What I've found interesting, in fact, let's take a moment here. Shift gears for just a minute before we wrap this up on what's going on with Double Masters. So as of this, Double Masters hasn't been out for quite a week yet. It's coming close on a week. But typically now is when we see a race to the bottom and a lot of cards going down in value. And what's really weird is it's not happening.
Yeah.
Like on a few cards it is. And, the trash stays trash. But the ones that aren't trash that we expect the race to the bottom on, that's not happening. And maybe it's not as much as getting opened as we thought. Maybe it's because people aren't drafting, but I mean, they're not drafting M21, and that hasn't really helped M21's prices. Mm-hmm. I don't get it. Like maybe there's a lower supply than currently than we're aware of.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of a few things. I think there's a low supply. One, I think that typical master sets. I mean, the last one that was Ultimate Masters. What were those a box? Like $215.
Ish. I think they were. Yeah, I think they were upwards. I think the high end was like $270, and they were averaging around $230.
Yeah, $230 or so. But I think this is a function of one, being in the pandemic, people don't have the extra funds. Two, the inundation of product is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Three, it's $300 a booster box.
Yeah.
So maybe those prices we're seeing. I mean, it's just the market's just trying to figure out what it needs to do with these cards because. The people who's cracking open boxes in mass quantities, they have to make their money back somehow. Yeah. And that's a lot of times how these prices are initially set into the market, based on the velocity, how often the card is opened and this and that. Yeah, it's pretty odd. It's pretty mind-boggling. I did not expect to see over the last week nearly 50% of the increases in percentages of cards going up being double master cards.
Yeah. I was shocked. Just so many of them. I went to look and I was like, wow. I mean, I guess not that surprised, but Mana Crypt's already back up to 110. It was down to 9. There was cards I was looking at. There's cards we talked about last week. They were like, you should get these. Get them. They're going to hit their low right about now. I mean, this just came out a couple days ago on the channel. They haven't gone down from where they were. They've gone up. I think every one we talked about has gone
every one of them
up, not down. I will say this. There's one that is still right at the same point, more or less, and that is one of my favorite specs, Academy Ruins. Don't be fooled. Get it. Like it's still there. If it's still hovering there, I think it has there's it and one other I think are right hovering or have a slight down, just the slightest trend down. They're not going to hold there.
No.
If you want any of these cards just to have them and play them, they're not getting lower. Get them while you can.
Yep.
I'm lamenting a couple cards. I could have got sort of Feast and Famine for $38 pre-sale. Like I said, the Race to the Bottom before it came out. I almost did. I was like, nah, it'll hit probably 35 right when the set comes out. No, it's like 55, $60 right now.
Yep, already. It's only been out for a week.
It's the best sword.
Not even a week.
So I'm not surprised, but I'm surprised because I didn't think it would rebound this quick. So I think what we were talking about potentially the Race to the Bottom now is happening more in pre-sale form and is happening before we actually get the set out. Could become the new norm. Who knows?
We'll see. I think
but that's not the case with M21. So I don't know. It's just
weird. I think it's a COVID thing and it's a distribution thing. I mean,
could be that.
It's all of it rolled into one. Who really knows? I mean, maybe we'll be eating our shorts this time in a few weeks when everything just crashes.
Could be. There's still a lot of cards from that set I want to get. I did not get in my box. Oh God, my box. You'll see if you haven't already. Go watch that video. You can cry with me. Press F for respects. Guys, it's been fun, Trent.
Man, it has been. Always is. And look forward, guys. We've got the next couple weeks. We're going to be doing some hits and misses, like we mentioned before. So be on the lookout for that. See where we did well and see where we did terrible. I'll tell you, a miss is going to be ancestral knowledge.
Yeah. And thank you, Post Office. Oh, so much.
Thank you. So,
well,
anyhow.
If you guys have not subscribed, please subscribe.
Yeah.
Comment below. Let us know what you like. Check out our other content. Be sure to like this, share it with friends if it's something you think they would enjoy. Even if it's something you don't think they would enjoy. If it'll annoy them, send it to them. We'll get a chuckle out of that. Let us know.
Yeah. Good deal.
And one last thing I want to leave you guys with, once again, quote from Ferris Bueller, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you can miss it. And what might they miss doing? Remembering to what?
They might miss remembering to command the market, So don't do that.
Don't do that.
Keep commanding the market, guys.
That's
right. Until next time.
We'll be seeing you. Peace.